Now I've already created a really formal design with these supermarket flowers. Now I'm going to take it apart and create something much looser and far more informal. So if you want to watch, stay with me. Now, if you're already subscribed to the channel and you've been watching videos for a while, you will have already seen this video here. And what I've done is I've taken it apart and I'm going to recreate something a little bit more informal without that very heavily set pattern. I do quite often try to show you how you can use the same flowers in different designs, so you really get to see how versatile they can be. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, then it's about time you were. So hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button if you want to be told every time I upload a new tutorial, and spread it far and wide so all of your friends and family can also watch the tutorials. So I've got the same container. It's probably about 2 inches high and it's fairly wide, so about maybe 5 inches in diameter. This time I've taken the foam lower than the container itself. That means I won't have so much foam to cover at the end, and hopefully I can have a less structured design without that really heavy pattern that some of you don't like. So today I'm going to start with the greenery, and it's the same foliage, it's cut to the same length as the previous arrangement, and I've got this one longer piece. This is the pittosporum. And I'm going to set this off to one side so that the design today is going to be more asymmetrical and not as equally balanced as the design before. The reason I'm putting the greenery in first is because that tends to give you a much softer look and prevents the design becoming too heavily patterned, and it's going to make it a bit more free-flowing and a bit more casual. So I'm just doing a clean cut on the bottom. I'm not cutting the greenery any shorter, but I'm going to use the majority of it to give me a little bit of an outline shape. I'm not working to create a set outline shape, so I'm not worried about it being a triangle or a crescent shape, but I am radiating all my flowers out from the center point, or all my foliage at the moment, so that we get a radial design. So fairly traditional, and because I've gone slightly taller on one side, then the design is likely to be asymmetrical, so unbalanced, and maybe a little bit more fashionable, because we do have this quite heavy trend at the moment towards designs that are far more whimsical, lightweight and airy. So a couple more pieces just towards the center, and that gives me a really good starting place. So if you're new and you didn't like the very structured design, start by covering your floral foam. If you can, extend the design slightly on one side, and that will give you a more jaunty and a more whimsical design. Right, let's find that taller piece of stock that I used in the previous design. So that was my center flower, and what I'm going to do this time is bring it off to one side. I don't have too many stalks that are tall, but this is just about long enough to accompany that first flower. And then I'm going to bring some over onto the opposite side, so that I'm trying again to exaggerate that asymmetrical shape, that unbalanced look that is a bit more trendy and a bit more fashionable at the moment. So we've got this taller side, and then we've got that lovely colour and texture swooping out to one side. Quite often, line flowers like the stock really benefit from being on the outside of the design because it gives the arrangement a really clear outline. Right, now, lots of my flowers now are fairly short, so I think we're going to go with the gerbera and the agapanthus. I've got one agapanthus that is a little bit taller, so that can accompany my stock there on one side. And then in this center section here, which traditionally is our focal point, I can bring the larger agapanthus and the larger gerbera. I'm a little bit restricted to the length, but that's okay. So beautiful texture, quite an unusual shape to work with, and a really long lasting flower. Great one to grow in the garden. And now to bring in a completely different shape and a different colour, and to give me a bit of a link between the pinky shades at the back, we can introduce the gerbera. Now these are a little bit longer because they were the flowers on the outside of the design. So I'm lucky enough to have one that's going to give me that colour towards the top. So I've brought that up onto the one side, and then the two that are slightly shorter can come more towards the front. Although I do have one that's quite long, so let's bring that in all the way out to the side. Now remember that foam was below the level of my container, so I'm a little bit limited to the position that can go. And what I'm going to do now is bring one around here somewhere so that we get a link between the three colours. What I don't want to do is set it really directly in the middle, because it's going to again look too formal. So I'm going to add it in closer to the side, and we get that more natural look. Now I do have two quite open irises. They're going to work quite nicely towards the centre. And irises can be a bit tricky to arrange with, because one minute they're very close and they look almost like a line and a linear flower, and then you blink and they've suddenly opened and you've got a really wide, big open flower. But for today, they're going to work better sitting in the centre. Blue obviously is a dark colour, and it does tend to be quite recessive, and it will draw your eye in to the middle. So if you're new to flower arranging, dark colours draw your eye in, light colours send your eye away. Right, let's keep going. We've got this lovely blue Status. I nearly called it stock, but that's of course Status. Nice tall one to the back. Some of the larger, longer pieces can come towards the outside. I'm not worried about putting two flowers together, because when the design is less formal, you can group the colours and the textures together. A little bit towards the back. And we've got a completely different shape. It's not quite an L, but it's definitely unbalanced and asymmetrical. And then I'm going to add in my taller chrysanthemums. This one is going to work great at the back. And the longer, if I've got one more long one, that can come out towards the side. A little bit restricted to how long I can go with that one, because I've only got a short piece of foam. Just going to move my stock so you can see it more clearly. So at the moment the white is only on the outside, so I'm going to use the shorter, smaller pieces more towards the centre. If you had anything like Gypsophila, Thlasby, you might have some crinkled cress in your garden, then adding that at the end is going to make it even more natural and quirky, which is really a big fashion trend at the moment. And then my final little flower, again I'm restricted with the length of the stems, so these are going to have to come towards the front, down quite low. Helps to bring that colour and that texture. But one more short piece, that's going to work quite nicely in that gap there. Just going to move this iris slightly, because he's could do with being a little bit higher. So that's better. And then my final flower is the longer stem of the chrysanthemum, so that can come up where the height is on the left hand side. And it's nearly finished. I've just got a few pieces of greenery that were hidden underneath the flowers, so I'm going to work these towards the centre just to break up that heavy sort of concentration there of the irises. One towards the front. So with the same selection of flowers, we've got a very, very different style of arrangement. So unbalanced, but it just goes to show how versatile flowers can be, and that you're not set to one style and one shape with a particular choice of flowers. So hopefully you've enjoyed that one. Little bit of an asymmetrical design. This would look amazing on one side of a mantelpiece. If you're brave enough, you could do a matching one for the opposite side. It would look great on an altar, in a little alcove, or just sitting on your coffee table at home. So thank you ever so much for watching. Don't forget to comment in the box below. Let me know what you've really enjoyed or what you don't like, and ask any questions. I'm happy to help. Thanks very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye for now.